my dad serves as an inspiration to others. He's certainly been an inspiration to me.
I think because it's such a sort of grassroots, blue-collar story, it feels like it needs to be told.
I mentioned this project to a number of people. It was a unanimous, no, this isn't gonna work. I had my doubts. It felt really overwhelming.
Oh no, oh no, oh no! Come on! We were almost desperate, I think, for things to go right.
The bike changed the course of my life. This was our opportunity to close a chapter that's been left open for 25 years.
By Todd Henning as he moved by Tyler going into turn 6.
I didn't get 2 trophies. Value. I wanted them.
Dad was unique in that he was not only a talented rider, but he was his own engineer. And he didn't graduate high school, he didn't go to school for engineering, he was self-taught. I remember him, finishing dinner with the family, and he would go down to work in the garage for hours, and you'd hear the Dremel as he was porting heads. I mean, he had to teach himself all this stuff, how to use a flow bench, how to run a dyno, how to do all of that. So he was self-taught and took a lot of grit and determination, and it gained him the admiration of a lot of people with more technical know-how than he had, because it was just kind of a feat of sheer determination to make the bikes do what they did.
Everyone always fawned over his bikes and was so impressed with him. My dad was impressed with him. Someone who was so revered in that community felt extra important to me.
Seeing him work on things kind of imbued me with an understanding that you could. If someone else can engineer it and build it, I should be able to take it apart and put it back together and fix it.
Arguably the bike that made him most famous was the Drixton 450, which was originally a Honda CB 450 street bike from the late 1960s. He sort of sprinkled his magic all over the motor and made it this really high state of tune, powerful race engine, and then put it in an actual race frame. The result was a home-built and yet world-class machine that competed against these pure blood race bikes of that era.
The Premier 500 class was reserved for Grand Prix bikes. And Grand Prix means like factory-made racing bike, professional racing bike. So having kind of a lowly street bike-based machine out there on the grid was ruffles and feathers. Dad won a lot. He won at Daytona pretty consistently. I think his first year was 93, and then 95 and 96 and 97 and 98 and 99. He won a lot at Daytona. I think he won over 50 races at Daytona alone.
Barry's dad was like famous. I mean, he was like the most famous person that I knew. I was probably around 12 years old when this bike was sort of getting lots of eyeballs. I mean, there were articles about it in national motorcycle magazines, and people all around the world were talking about what he was doing.
April 18th of 1999, Dad crashed out of the lead at Sears Point in Northern California. The rider in second place was so close behind him that he hit him. He ran him over between the legs, across the chest, and basically ricocheted his head against the ground, and he suffered a very traumatic brain injury. They didn't think he was gonna live. They got him to a hospital. He was in a coma for a long time. They thought he'd be a vegetable. He's still with us today. A lot of people often ask me if Dad's still alive. He is, but he was a very changed person. Completely different person than he was. It's a pretty profound tragedy how much was taken away from him in terms of cognitive ability and memory.
when Ari's dad got hurt, it had a big impact on Ari's life in a way that I can't ever pretend to understand.
It was a real shock to everybody in the community because he was such a pillar of success and engineering and a rare talent.
A lot of his bikes had to be sold to pay for his medical bills. So the bike that he actually was on when he crashed was sold at auction, I believe in 99 or 2000. I had forgotten about the bike. I was 14 when this all happened, and there was just such turmoil and chaos with the family trying to stay on track and stay afloat that it slipped my mind entirely. There was a motorcycle that my father had been on that he crashed. The owner had reached out to me and said, "Hey, we have this bike that was your dad's," and he was willing to sell it. It was all spread out on this shelf, and none of the photos were particularly close up, so I spent a lot of time kind of zooming in and studying them. It looked like all the pieces of a complete motorcycle were there, but it was really hard to tell. We hatched a plan to go get it, rebuild it, and take it to Barber to race.
Turned out the Drixton was in a barn in New Hampshire, where it had been sitting in pieces for decades. The owner very kindly told us that we could use his shop to rebuild the bike, which was great, but going to someone else's shop to build a bike you're not sure if you have all the pieces for, and then bring it 1,300 miles to a very prestigious race, left a lot of questions.
It's fully apart. Fully apart. Check out the grips.
I was just gonna say, I remember the grips. Now I had no idea until I saw them, and then all I can do is remember them.
He's very particular with that. He'd heat them up with a heat gun and then grab them so that they fit his hand. It's gonna be pretty wild to wrap my hands around.
My dad was very particular about writing notes on everything. All magged, solid colors, left cylinder.
The bike had been completely disassembled because the guy was going to restore it. But that was 20 plus years ago. So for me, the priority was getting the engine put back together, and Zack decided to tackle the chassis.
It was basically this archaeological dig, exhuming pieces of this old motorcycle and then finding clues that Ari's dad had left behind and trying to use those to put the bones of this bike back together. Everything we're working on in this project is precious, but nothing's too precious to hit with a hammer, if you know what I mean.
You're good, yeah, give it a little tap tap. Cool. We had, I guess, a mental outline of how quickly we wanted things to progress, but the pace was just nowhere near what we thought it was going to be. We were spending so much time cleaning stuff and inspecting stuff, and the time was just slipping away.
We needed things to both go together and hold together. And even under the best of circumstances, assembling a race bike is a tedious, painstakingly detailed process.
We got pistons in the bore. It's a little like piecing together a letter someone had written and then torn up in pieces. I knew a lot about what my dad had done to make the engine what it did, but I'm absolutely like discovering things and just being like, oh, why did he do that? And just a lot of little nuances to it. So yeah, it's a bit of a puzzle that we're putting together, and it's just amazing to see it returning to a state where it can be ridden and raced. It's awesome.
today is reality check, where you like have to dig down, find all the little things that you're gonna wish you found later, so that you don't end up at the racetrack ill-prepared. Well, I already put this back together. Now I'm taking it back apart because the clutch doesn't seem to be working properly. Want to be moving in the opposite direction, but better to do it here than at the racetrack or God knows where. How's it going, Z? This brake arm is bound up, and I don't know why. Yeah, I'm not sure, man. It seems like this one's jammed. Well, it's on an engine lift in this shop, which is cool because this engine's wicked heavy.
Wicked heavy.
So we're thinking of running straps around its little waist here, lifting it up in this hydraulic lift, and then dangling it in over the frame and trying to sort it out as we go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because it doesn't go in a conventional way at all. It actually has to go in from the top, somewhat upside down. Mm-hmm. Work smarter, not harder.
More. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay. Yeah, so we gotta take the cam chain tensioner off, which is a drag. Okay, going down. Yep, gently. Oil drain plug just needs to screw. There we go. There we go. All right. There. Stopping. Another ½ inch down. We're gonna rotate. Coming down some more. Yep. Look at that, dude. It's almost there. That's it. That's awesome. Nice.
Nice work.
Woo. Dynamite. That feels good to have it in place. I'm so glad that worked. Holy cow.
Heck yeah. Solid progress, but it feels like it is still so far to go.
The rest of what we have to do is massive. I mean, at some point we just sort of bumped up against the reality that we're just not going to make it unless we come up with a different plan. So I get a call from the guys and they need a vehicle that is big enough to work in. So it's not just hauling the motorcycle, but they need to be able to get around the motorcycle to work whilst I am driving. This is the best thing I could find on short notice. So hear me out. It's within our budget.
Sure.
Oh,
This is
I feel like this
very
is
appropriate.
in the spirit of something your dad would have driven around in.
We actually we traveled all over the country in a bus. It was an airport shuttle bus, but I mean basically the same size, different color.
We figured we'll put the bike in the back and tie it down and put it together as we roll.
I was not excited to leave the shop in New Hampshire with all of its resources and all of its space and get into a rolling workshop with just the stuff we could bring. We had to stabilize the motorcycle and we had to stabilize ourselves and not get car sick. But we had the wheel wells to sit on. Spurgeon was a very smooth driver, and it was nice to just be able to focus on the task at hand and really just have no other option to spend your time except working on the bike.
We wanted to start the motorcycle, and in order to do that, we had to get the ignition coils on, we had to get the carburetors on and the throttle cables run. There was still some wiring to be done, a kill switch. It was just a blur.
We're going to be driving until at least midnight tonight.
We made great strides yesterday, due in part to the fact that we worked in the back of this van until after 1 a.m. And yeah, there's a possibility that this bike could actually get started today. Not be ready to ride, but at least get the engine started. So we made a list last night and got a few items left to do.
Nice of you to say that you made a list, if we're being honest.
I couldn't go to sleep without doing that first. Oil, numbers, drain pan, chain lube.
Do you guys carry race numbers? Right in front of my face. Thanks, man.
Where would I find chains? Awesome. Wicked. Thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy your trip. Yeah.
My hope is that we're at least hitting the Virginia-Tennessee border tonight. I think that would be a good goal, and then that would put us either into Atlanta tomorrow or rolling straight on through into Birmingham.
Let's just do a little bit and make sure nothing leaks from the petcock or the hoses.
Spurgio, we're gonna fire this sucker up, so it might get a little loud.
Trying to start a freshly built engine was always a little bit of stress for me. Even if you're certain you've done everything right, it could make a noise that's bad or it could not start. So with this bike in particular, it was high stakes.
Pop it. Woo!
Hearing Dad's handmade exhausts reverberating inside of a school bus that was going down the highway was a pretty exceptional experience. Starts, runs, idles, kill switch works, sounds wicked. It's awesome.
That's dynamite. I literally have goosebumps from hearing it.
It's awesome.
It's so cool.
A pearl of wisdom to be taken away from Dad's racing endeavors. It was the harder I try, the luckier I get. And there's a lot of truth to that. The sound and the smell of a running engine, a vintage engine, and then the heat that was coming off of it afterward, it gave me goosebumps and definitely made me tear up a little bit. To a lot of people, it probably seems silly to get into a rusted out van with a motorcycle and drive 1,000 miles to go racing. but that's how Dad did it.
In a lot of ways, it was a total snapshot of our childhood. Doing this trip now with our friends felt nostalgic, but also just so appropriate, considering the roots of this bike that we were working on and just the kind of racing that we grew up with.
Here's a question for you. If this was a video game build-a-bike, what percentage complete would we be?
A healthy 75. I mean, we've made a lot of progress.
Oh, I wanted the number to be so much higher than that. I feel like we're so close.
We still need the seat foam, and we gotta do a bunch of safety wiring and like suspension setup and all that jazz. But what we did realize today, very importantly, is that we don't have the brackets for the upper fairing and the lower fairing. I'm guessing they were damaged or destroyed in the crash 25 years ago. But my dad does have a friend in Atlanta that had one of these bikes, has a bunch of spares and things he might have we need to mount it. So we're gonna do a little detour through the ATL, but then we might have all the parts we need to actually finish this thing.
Buff has been a family friend for a really long time. When he first started racing, my father mentored him. And then when I first started racing, Buff actually mentored me. So having him be a part of this project, it really brings the story full circle.
There's this, and then that goes on the rear motor mount
Yeah.
right here.
So over like this.
I've liked racing my whole life, and before long I got into vintage racing and had a real crappy little CB 350 that barely ran, but I was on a track trying to get my license, and I met Todd, and I developed a really great relationship with him. Having the support of his knowledge and his parts just really changed the outlook of my racing career. Look whose riding is on that.
Check it out.
Your dad wrote that.
Oh yeah, it does look like his handwriting.
That is his handwriting. It's really been a pleasure being a friend of the family and being so involved with them the last 25 years. Such a beautiful thing to hear that thing bark like that after so many years. A little bit emotional. I haven't seen that bike since 1998, and it is everything I remember. Damn, that is amazing. Thing sounds perfect.
Yeah, it feels right.
I'm so proud of Ari to be able to get that thing put together and to bring it to life and to get to take it to the track this weekend. I mean, I think it's really going to be a special experience for him and for everybody there that gets to see it. It's really going to be something.
We made it to the racetrack somehow, excited and filthy and still pretty unsure how the bike would cope with going around at speed. But that's a familiar feeling in some ways. It's kind of vintage racing in a nutshell. Getting to hear engines running and see other campers and other race bikes, it always feels intimidating, no matter how many times you've done it, I think, because you're sort of like facing this wall of effort ahead of you, especially this time. But it's so exciting.
All right, stage 2.
We did it.
Race some motorcycles.
Nice work, Spurgeon.
There was a moment of, we made it, we arrived, and then it was the realization set in of like, we still have a long road ahead of us.
The list never ends. I mean, we still had to drill and fit most of the bodywork. We had to add an oil catch. We had to safety wire things so we could pass inspection, put numbers on the bike. I mean, there was just, I don't know, 1,000 other small tasks that we had to do before the bike was even ready for its first practice.
It was still missing a few little aesthetic touches, but seeing the bike there with the bodywork installed was a little surreal. It was starting to look like the machine we remembered.
You got any advice for me, Zach? I got a lot going through my head right now.
Just do what you always do and think about the next corner, man. All the weight and emotion that's gone into this, it's all about getting around a racetrack, and you know how to do that.
I'm actually looking forward to letting muscle memory take over
Yes.
to some degree and just kind of compartmentalizing all the other stuff that's involved in this project.
So cool, man. I'm wicked proud of you.
Thanks.
Let's go. I can't even begin to process all the stuff that's going through my head. Let's go. CHR Honda heading back on track. Got such good torque. Knee down for the first time. Chassis feels pretty good. Wide open throttle.
It's so cool. I can't imagine this feeling. Woo! Woo!
There were just so many things going through my head when I first rolled out on Dad's bike. Every turn, every lap was an opportunity and a responsibility to be assessing and learning the bike. I had to figure out gearing and shift points and get familiar with the clutch and the drum brakes and the tires. There was just so much to try and balance in my head and pay attention to. And unfortunately, it wasn't all good.
Jumping out of gear a little bit.
It's not a modern motorcycle. There's a lot to get used to beyond the fundamentals. You're trying to get used to wooden drum brakes that have very little feedback, a very heavy clutch with little feedback, a clunky transmission, a bike that you're all stretched out on that feels completely unlike anything modern. So there's a lot to wrap your head around.
Woo! Come on, Daddy-O!
The first practice session was awesome to like hear it, you know, third, fourth gear, wide open down the straightaway. I mean, that's like what a racing motorcycle is supposed to do.
All right! I can't believe it. I've been thinking about riding this motorcycle since I was a little kid. This is a dream come true. I got a lot to work on though, boy.
There was a fueling issue where the engine was kind of cutting out, and we had some trouble with second gear popping out, and we had some issues with the shifter not being in the right position and the clip-ons not being in the right position. But I mean, it certainly sounded good at full throttle, and that was especially important given who was watching.
Hey, Dad. Yeah. What's up, Buff?
Did you just get to watch me go by a few times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time.
Never really looked this pretty when you had it, huh?
No.
Yeah, that's some nice paint.
Drove it.
Yeah. Well, it runs great, Dad.
Good. That sounds good out there, son.
Yeah, it sounds wicked. Pretty wild putting my hands in your handprints.
I'm impressed.
Dad's bikes were not only famous for being fast, but they were famous for being reliable, because if you want to win a race, you have to finish a race. So we got some problems to solve. All right, we got more gas, we've got fuel filters, we cleaned the petcock, I drilled out the tank vent. We're just trying to eliminate all the possible issues.
By that night, it seemed like we had fixed most of the mechanical issues. So the only thing left was just to make it look like the bike Todd made famous.
Some of these are original. Some of these we had to source on eBay. Some of these we actually had to have made.
Imagine how your dad would laugh if he saw us trying to recreate the stickers he just slapped on the side because he had some sponsors.
Yeah, it's starting to look really cool, man. It's so awesome to see it. ACS.
ACS, and it looks like they're parallel to the ground, not to the swoop of the bodywork. I'll let you do the honors with these last two.
Classic identification. Wicked. That's so cool. It's ready to race, man. Good luck. You as well. See you out there.
Yeah.
The plan all along was that if we got the Drixton ready by race day, I would try to get another bike and join Ari on track. Luckily, Team Obsolete was kind enough to offer their matchless G50. Exactly the kind of factory Grand Prix bike Ari's dad went up against in the 90s. So after working day and night on the Drixton, I would be racing against it. But I really just wanted to be there on the track when it crossed the finish line.
In the 500 Premier class, Ari Henning on the 454 Drixton and the number 7 of Zack Courts on the matchless G50. This is going to be a race to watch. The Drixton 450 is the famous race bike once ridden by Ari's father. The bike has not been raced in 25 years and was rebuilt in the back of a school bus on a 1,300-mile road trip from New Hampshire. How cool is that?
Going up the line for the first race, I was just telling myself to breathe because I was just hanging on by a thread. Race nerves, emotional baggage associated with this project. It was almost overwhelming, and I was eager to have my race instinct take over when I put the visor down so that I could just focus on one thing, which is going to be riding.
Zack's going for the front.
All right, we're into second place. I got Ari behind me. I immediately had a rush of confidence. I thought, okay, the bike seems like it's working. I followed the leader through a couple corners and I thought, I might be able to do this. They were neck and neck, and it was this just adrenaline surge. Even watching it, you're getting emotional, you're getting excited. Exiting the 5th corner of the race, it went kapop. The bike's dead. Well,
Zack had been right behind me, so at one point I looked over my shoulder to see if he was there, and he was not. But I had the leader in sight, so all I could do was just keep riding my race.
here he comes, here he comes. Go get him, Ari!
That Drixton's turning in some great laps. 149s.
Woo! Trying a different gear through this turn. He's carrying a tight line. I'll get him on the drive. I'll get him on the drive. Oh, the bike's missing. The bike's missing. There's something wrong with the bike. It's dying. Come on, bike, come on. I don't know what happened.
My bike started to cut out. Basically, roll the throttle open, it was burbling, it was not running well. I was pretty sure it was fuel starvation. I tried nursing it around for another lap, but I had to pull off. It just wasn't gonna do it.
Son of a
The crash truck of shame. It's really too bad. The race was sizing up to be fun. It just popped. Yeah, I don't know. Don't think it has compression.
So frustrating. I guess we just take the carburetors, but there's like a bunch of...
I think we take the bolts off the carbs, check the floats.
I'm also suspicious that petcock might just not have enough flow. So I can just like open it over a container and just like see how much fuel it dumps.
With vintage racing, half the challenge is getting your bike running, and the other half is keeping it running. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon for a motorcycle to have fairly significant issues over the course of a race weekend.
My machine was terminal. That was it. It either broke a valve or broke a ring, or there was metal inside the engine, and it was done deal.
Ultimately, the problem with the Drixton was pretty minor, and that's part of what makes it very frustrating. There was a bunch of junk in the gas tank, some epoxy around the gas cap that had come loose and actually clogged the petcock, so we just weren't getting gas to the engine.
That's max flow right there.
Lucky for me, the team that brought the famous matchless G50 also brought a bike called an AJS 7R. Ultimately, a very, very similar bike, just a smaller, less powerful engine. So I had this smaller bike that seemed like it was gonna work okay, but I hadn't really used it. And Ari thought he'd solved that fueling problem. And I mean, I don't know if I remember a situation where I felt more pressure to have a good race.
It's time to race.
Good luck out there.
Thanks.
Be careful. Go fast.
Thanks, Dad. Yeah, buddy. Good luck, Zach. All right, we are second wave, hand up. Oh,
Can you loop it?
had a bike fall down in the grid.
Red flag, is this what we're doing?
Got a red flag on the grid. I've never experienced this before. We're all going out.
We were on the grid, and there was a multi-wave start, and someone in the wave ahead of us looped their vintage superbike, and that caused an immediate red flag because there was a motorcycle on its side on the start-finish line. So everyone was sitting there idling their engines, which is not good for 50-year-old bikes with air-cooled motors.
All right, group 5, we're going back out.
There's a red flag, so they reset. And when they reset, Ari stalled his bike.
Oh no, oh no, oh no!
Oh no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Get it going again, get it going again.
Little issue with the 454 bike, couldn't get his bike to fire.
Oh no.
Come on!
Come on, come on, come on, come on. No, no, no.
Even if we were going to script this, we wouldn't have had his bike stall in the second race that we had an opportunity to ride, because why would we do that? It's too risky. It's too unrealistic. It doesn't even seem like it would have happened that way, but that is what happened.
No.
I almost lost my mind. I mean, that is a racer's nightmare on the grid, is to have your bike not start.
Oh. I can't believe this. I can't believe this.
I was a totally split emotion. I was desperate to get off my bike and just help push his bike so he could get it started so that he could ride. And part of me was like, the green flag dropped and I gotta go. I have to go forward. I have to try to go around the track as fast as I can. So that's what I did, and I didn't know what had happened to him after that, really.
Alone and Wilson as he goes down into Charlotte's Web on that BMW.
Come on, Buff! Push!
Go to third. Don't pop it yet. Let's get it. Let's go. Let's go.
I can't, man. I'm gonna throw up.
When we finally got the bike started, the leaders were already halfway around the racetrack. But one upshot, one silver lining, is I was pissed. And you ride fast when you're pissed.
Wide open, come on!
Ari Henning got his bike fired and was actually able to go out on the track.
Race isn't over till it's over. Just gonna ride as best I can.
He was behind, and he didn't quit, and he just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and he kept going, and he was turning incredible lap times.
Normally with these old bikes, you try and leave a little bit in reserve. You try and nurse the brakes. I mean, you don't rev the engine out too far. You want to kind of protect the machine. But after the start I got, all that went out the window.
So while Ari was riding like a bat out of hell, I was pretty oblivious to what was going on. I thought Ari was out. I didn't have any idea that he was this man possessed, and he was tracking me down.
I got Zack in my sights!
Checkered flag is out. Checkered flag is out.
Wide open throttle, let's go, let's go! I came out of the back straight and I saw Zack. I'm absolutely gutted. I can't believe that. Might as well have been a DNF. Let's put it in the shade.
Was the choke on still, or did you turn the choke on when you tried to restart it?
Stop. Please stop.
No, I'm just.
I don't want to talk about it right now.
Okay.
Well, we can look at the race schedule and see what else the bike's eligible for. I mean, Dad used to bump up all the time and race whatever he was eligible for. So, I mean, I need to get back out there and go again.
Formula 750?
Yeah, that's an option, or Formula 500, or
500.
Yeah.
There was another class we could race, but it meant going up against multi-cylinder 4-strokes, which make more horsepower, as well as 2-strokes, which make lots of power and don't weigh much. In some ways, bringing a knife to a gunfight. So at a bit of a disadvantage, but still, it was an opportunity to race again.
We were, I don't even think optimistic is the right word, almost desperate, I think, for things to go right. I think success for me would be Ari being satisfied with this whole thing. That's like what's important to me, that he gets from it what he wants. And if I can help and be the person that he high fives and hugs at the end, then that would be enough.
Where's Zack? There's Zack. All right, buddy.
Okay, here we go. Final showdown.
Taking deep breaths. Another chance for redemption.
There he's off like a shot.
Come on, Ari.
Wow, that guy's got a fast bike. Holy cow.
The 77K of Dan Sokolich over Ari Henning just by 0.2 of a second, folks. They got a race on their hands there.
Ari was out front with another rider, and by that point, it was clear that he was competitive and that he wasn't completely outgunned.
Just don't have the horsepower.
I saw Ari for a while, for probably half the race. I could see him up there, and I just like kept trying to chip away and chip away. He did the racer thing and he split.
Come on, Ari. Bring it home, Ari. Oh. Come on, come on, come on. Half a lap to go.
Ari Henning overtook Dan Sokolich on this last lap. So now you have Ari Henning leading Dan Sokolich over Zach Kortz.
Run onto the straight. Come on, Ari. Throttle open. Let's go.
Ari's off. He's gonna win it.
Do this one for Dad. Woo-hoo-hoo! Woo! Yeah! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Whoa, boy!
Getting to see the checkered flag on Dad's bike after all these years, that's exactly how I want things to end. Racing Dad's bike puts me in touch with who he was. It's like I'm riding with a ghost. And it's the only way I have to really feel like I know who he was, because I didn't know what that was. When I was 14, he got hurt. But when I race motorcycles and I race his bike, I just know that I'm doing the same thing he was, and I'm using the same skills that he was so proud of and he had honed in such a way. It's giving me closure, which I haven't had for 25 years.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Dad.
It was awesome to see Todd's Drixton at the top of a racing podium again. And it was especially satisfying because of the destination. One of the reasons we worked so hard to get it here was to deliver the Drixton to its final resting place.
To have the bike retire in the Barber Museum, the most prestigious motorcycle museum in the world, where other people are going to get to observe it and appreciate and respect what my dad accomplished with it. I can't imagine a better retirement for the motorcycle or a better tribute for my dad and what he was able to do.
I like to think that we have made his dad proud by succeeding in the sort of dirt under fingernails, blue collar way that he did back in the day.
Dad's motto of, "I think I can," was pretty crucial to this project. From the get-go, it was a unanimous, no, this isn't gonna work. But we thought we could do it. And if you think you can, you can. Hey everybody, thank you so much for coming along on this episode of CTXP. This one was obviously very, very special to both of us, and frankly, it took a tremendous amount of work to make it happen. So we're grateful to our whole team at RevZilla, our superiors, and all of you for watching.
And one of the reasons we can tell stories like this is that a little bit of every dollar spent at RevZilla.com goes into original content programming. So the next time you need a helmet, a jacket, tires, saddlebags, whatever, for you and your motorcycle, remember the story of the Drixton 450 and that you helped tell it.